Hey, it's Teri Lucas, and welcome to the book report. Today, I have one of the most creative individuals I have ever had the pleasure of having long conversations with. It is Sophie Scardaci of C&T Creative Spark. Welcome, Sophie.
Thanks, Terry, for having me. And yes, we have had many long conversations, maybe even before this episode has started. We've already been chatting away, but now it's
Mhm.
time to share with everyone on, I don't know, what I do, what we do, things like that.
Well, okay, so Sophie, in 2020, you took over Creative Spark.
Actually, I was part of the team that launched Creative Spark in 2020.
Yeah.
So, C&T Publishing during the pandemic wanted to figure out a way to help a lot of their authors that usually travel and teach be able to do that. And so that was one of their ways of solving the problem was creating this online learning platform. And what was cool is that they really had wanted to do that anyways, but it kind of worked out. We had a really wonderful cohort of instructors that helped us kind of put the program together.
Hmm.
So, what is nice is the program really works for instructors because they had some say in it. And it works for us too. So, now we're in, let's see, it's been 4 years
Hmm.
uh, about now that we've been uh, making online content, and it's uh, some things are the same, some things are different. We have 200 courses now. Um,
Wow, I didn't realize it was so
like
big.
we do, I know. So a lot of courses. We also have live events. That part is newer, which we can talk about. And we're doing about six a year. And they're, I should say virtual live events, not in-person live events. And then, yeah, and we have probably over, I'm gonna say over 60 instructors, maybe 50 or 60 instructors that have made content. Some of it's on demand. And then of course, we have instructors. I'm not even counting for the live events. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's what we've been making.
And what's your background before coming to
Oh, yeah.
C&T?
So actually my background is oh, that's interesting. My background technically was in finance in my 20s. I actually worked on the stock exchange in my 20s. I
No
bet you didn't
kidding.
know that. So I have a kind of a mathy brain. And then in my 30s, I started a yarn store. And I had a little retail yarn store in Sausalito, California, which is on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge for people that don't know where that is. And I had that for like almost about 8 years, I'd say. Fell in love, relocated. Uh, and then there was this company called C&T Publishing down the street from my house. And I'm like, it's creative. I love crafts. I love all kinds of crafts. And so I kind of started there and kind of fell into a bunch of different roles and was lucky enough to be asked to help start Crave Spark. So yeah, so I've been working on this project and our team's grown.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's
Um,
definitely a priority for the
you
company.
have a class on Creative Spark too, don't you?
Kind of. I have a little freebie one that's the company's um it's on tap, which is like an artist transfer paper. Uh no, not that one.
Nachos.
Oh, that one's only for special people. Sorry,
Forget
public.
I said that.
Uh Yeah, there'll now be like a request. Can I watch the nacho class? I did make a nacho class for our for a training video that Terry has seen. And I am very passionate about nachos. So that worked well. I have some plans for maybe some other courses for 2025.
Hmm.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it comes out. Yeah.
Well, I
So
hope you can do it because you're a good like when I was watching that, like you're a really good presenter.
well, thanks.
You're very comfortable in front of the camera.
I am, yes. I don't know how that happened. But yeah, I am actually, I would say that. I don't have a problem being in front of camera. And I think like over time too, just being on video calls and other things, it's become more natural. But one of the cool things I get to do is help train people on how to be comfortable in front of the camera and
Right.
help them make their own content. So even though I love crafts and that's my background, what my job kind of is to help usher people along in the whole process of maybe never having ever shot themselves in front of a camera to making a class. Some of our instructors have had experience with that, but we've been teaching them how to do it from like start to finish, and we give them feedback, and it's been a really rewarding like job and thing to be able to get to interact with people and teach them things. So yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. So I
Sweet.
love that. And so I thought Teri kind of gave me the thing like you can talk about anything you want. So I thought maybe today we could talk a little bit about like some of our best sellers, like our, things that people just always like gravitated to. But also I've had a bunch of new instructors, a lot of them going through our program, which has actually expanded, and we have like it's a more robust program even. And our book editors are involved and all of that. So it's kind of exciting. And talk about kind of some of the cool new stuff that we're having show up in this last year as well.
Absolutely. Have at it.
Yeah, so
You are the floor is
but
yours.
ask me questions along the way. I don't want to just be like, I told Terry I'll talk a lot if you don't rein me in a little bit. So so
The
I
screen is open to
actually
share.
I'm gonna go back like a little bit to like our very like beginnings and stuff. And
Okay.
one of our I've got some I mean it's really hard because I have amazing instructors across the board.
Right.
But Becky Goldsmith has been with us since the beginning. She has put out consistently courses throughout the last 4 years. Same with Shannon and Jason, also have put out a lot of classes as well. But Becky puts out predominantly quilting classes. And she even, since this is book report, she even put out a class called Birds in Toyland
Mm-hmm.
that became a book. So kind of sometimes we'll have classes that were books that become classes. And then in this case, it was like a class that became a book, which was kind of cool. And she has all sorts of like a lot of stuff with hand sewing, but also machine sewing. And one of the things I love that she put out was called Photo to Fabric. And it was kind of this arty one, which was kind of cool. But she always has great holiday stuff too. So anything Becky Goldsmith is amazing. Jennifer Sampu has one of our best-selling classes. I mean, she makes beautiful fabric called Sky and chalk and charcoal and other things, but so she's got some really good like classes that have projects, but also techniques attached to them. And then her stuff's always done well. And then at one point, Tim Tar brought all of her classes over to us, and she actually has a new class that should be out in the next couple of weeks. Right now, we're at mid September right now of 2024. So in the next couple of weeks, she'll have a new class as well. But she has this mosaic thing. She has a book with another publisher, but she has a class on that with our platform, and it's so popular. So,
Oh,
yeah, all great instructors. And then let me think of who else. I have wanted to actually also mention some of our kind of more recent people. Also a quilter like yourself, but she does walking foot is Carol Wilhoit. She has a really cool class, as well as uh Jenny Lyons has a free motion class. So if you were wanting to do free motion, she's got a great class too for that. And then we have this really interesting woman named Jennifer Rapaki who brought a bunch of classes to us. And what I love about Jennifer is she's doing stuff that's a little techy. So she does like printing your own fabric at home or on
oh,
Sunflower and a little bit of digital manipulation, but like they're really approachable. So even if you don't think you're like a super techy person, you should check her classes out because she makes them very approachable. So Yeah, she has put out a bunch. And then she's also put out an EQ8 class for like people that ever bought the software. I know, but really a basics, like a basics. Yeah. So
I,
yeah. I don't know what you
I
usually are
have
more free
EQ8.
motiony than like that kind of stuff. I always think of you
Yeah,
that.
my quilting, I love the dynamic complementarity of piecing and free motion quilting. I'm just even though I can do it and I'm fairly adept at it, I tend toward the free motion quilting just because of what I've been able to accomplish with it. I know Jenny Lyon, and I know she's a really good teacher. A friend of mine had her in Houston. Like I'd been telling my friend, like, you're smart, you're creative, you can do this. Well, Jenny actually talked her through the part where I'm telling her she can do this and kind of walking her through it a little bit, and Jenny unlocked something for her. So I love that, you have Jenny and then you've got somebody else who is doing more walking foot quilting because that is a big technique.
It is. It's not as like just simple as shoving it under. And she does Carol in her walking foot class does things with spirals and not just like straight lines. That's what I kind of loved about her walking foot
Mhm.
class as well. One of the things I love though about Jenny is Jenny really covers from the basics all the way through like really good core foundational exercises to do. And I think even as somebody who like I'm not a super experienced quilter, I've done it. But when I watch her class, it reminds me like, oh, those like key things that sometimes you miss like along the way, but she covered everything. Like, so it's a solid class for free motion for sure. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
What's your favorite non-quilting? Oh, well, okay. I'm not going to
Yeah.
say it that way. Uh, what are a couple of the non-quilting classes that have really kind of gotten you?
Um, Well, right now we have a bunch of this year we've had a bunch of crochet show up, which, as somebody who did yarn, one is it's like where you actually put a quilt together, but like you essentially are blanket. I'm gonna simplify this. Sorry, but Kelly Beckwith did it. You basic is essentially she's like doing a sort of blanket stitch around the squares of fabric, and then she goes in to show you how to like attach them all together, but it's really well done. And the cool thing about her class too is she does flip the videos. So for left-handed people, you're able to follow along. So there's like a left-handed and a right-handed version. So that's kind of cool. What else do I been excited about that's not archers? I mean, we've had okay, so one thing I love, um, her name's Karen Strait. She's an amazing artist out of Montana, Whitefish, Montana, which is near Glacier. And she does a needle felting landscape class that is so good. If you have ever wanted to try needle felting, like she does a great job. And I wish more people saw it for sure.
Mhm.
So I love that one. I am a super whimsical person, and there's somebody named Bermune, and she does these mermaid like cake toppers, which I just think are adorable. And you can also make them into like ornaments, and you can do them for a birthday or for a wedding, or like they're really cute. So I love those. Trying to think of any. And then, I love this one bag class. It's a really solid bag class. And that is by Sarah Marcos. And it's,
Okay.
I think, the garden tiles tote. And there's like different options for the doing it, but it's just like a really functional tote, but you learn so many bag making things in that. Um, and that leads in, she is an instructor on an upcoming like bag event we have as well. So yeah.
When is the bag event?
The bag event, I'm looking at my calendar, just October 4th. So that's in a couple weeks. Um Jessica Barrera is the keynote for it. She is of Sally Tomato. That's how she's pretty well known. And just really like I'm a big fangirl. Every time I like get to meet up with these instructors for like our prep meetings, there's some really cool people in it. Like I'm just like, oh my gosh, I got to meet her. And so yeah, it'll be a really good event for sure.
And then
Yeah.
the other event that's coming up, I don't want to Quilt Fusion. When is
Yeah.
that? When is
That
that?
one is November 15th,
Okay.
and that one is a bigger event. It's so our way our events work, we usually have a keynote and then we have sessions, and in each session there's three choices. You get to choose whichever one you want to go to, but we record all of them and you can watch them all later. So that one has 4 sessions, so there's like 13 presentations. And we do giveaways during the live portion, and we have a swag bag, and they're tons of fun. People have really loved them, and we have already planned on having 20, as you know, we already plan on having for 2025 6 more events at least. Yeah. So
I'm excited about I love seeing these events. First of all, the one that I did was really fun.
yeah,
It in part because I got to go into some of the other instructors' classes, what because I hung out with everybody. But I got to come out and then I got to talk to a number of people just, because we were all in the same room. So it was fabulous. But the events are very exciting. They
they
are
are.
very exciting, but there's tons of good information that come from the events.
Yeah.
Um, and you've had cosplayers too, yes?
We did have a cosplay event, and I don't know if we have one planned we may have another one this coming year. It was really fun. And for those of you that don't know what cosplay is, it is kind of like, I don't know, oh gosh, I'm going to oversimplify it, but it has a lot to do with costuming. So I'm going to just say that, like, to just simplify it. And so a lot of really good basic like garment skills and other kinds of skill sets are discussed, and using unusual materials. And so as somebody who loves Halloween and loves to dress up, so I thought it was really fun to see all the different ways to make things too. So yeah.
It Cosplay and quilting are very interrelated in that there's more than one way to cut your fabric. And I mean that I wanted to say there's more than one way to skin your cat, but
Yeah. Don't be
um,
hurting the animals.
but there's more than one way to like cut your fabric. There's more than one way to stitch things together. But what's the construction technique that's going to make the most sense for you?
Yeah. I think that individual thing is important. Um, yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, it was really fun to do, and it was a great group of people to work with
Mhm.
too, that I don't usually um do stuff with, but I suspect we'll see a lot more from them going forward as well. Um, the other person that did something, because I know you like Scrappy, uh, is we have a new class by this woman named Beth Helfter. And I don't,
Yeah.
are you familiar with her thing?
Yes.
She does these scrappy accordion sewn half square triangles that like blew my mind. Like, when you usually traditionally do half square triangles, like you have a bunch that look the same, like in the sense that like half is one color and half is the other color, and you have multiples of the same sets of colors. She does this method where every single pair is a different color. And I just I love that creativity of like construction. Um, I've always loved that for knitting too, when people would think of different ways of knitting something, or the architecture of the craft. So
Mm.
yeah, so that was really cool. I love that one for her too.
It just popped into my head, partly because it's something that I've done before. Have you had anybody come on yet, or are you looking for somebody who would do cake decorating?
Oh, that would be cool. I
Mhm.
haven't. But we have a section that you can like, I mean, I'm open to other creativity things. We do have like a few like classes that are not necessarily making things, but more informational, I guess, like on like quilt appraisals and things like that, but also on like certain photography things. Trying to think of and then we have a big art quilting thing, but really like those techniques could be for a lot of different crafts. Like they do not have to be just for art quilts. Like there are a lot of like fiber classes too. So like Lisa Thorpe, she just put out like some like marbling on fabric and block printing and jelly plate printing. And you can print that on fabric or paper or whatever you know. And they've been really popular and her classes are really fun. She's just got a great attitude.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah. And then the other person that just put out a class that everyone is going cuckoo about, and it is a quilting class, is Patty Murphy did one based on a book of hers that she put out years ago on perfect piecing. And the thing that I
Okay.
think I love about our classes, like, look, I get there's like a lot of classes on other places, like we're not the
Right.
only one that put it out. But what I love is that I really genuinely have instructors like if you leave a comment in a discussion room, if you need help, they are so excited to interact with you. And I feel like that's kind of a little different. And the way that they're able to access your to help you is really wonderful. Jenny Lyons, who we talked about already. She is so fun. She was at one point like, I want more questions from people. So like they genuinely are really excited to interact with people. So I love that about Jenny Lyon, and a lot of our instructors feel the same way. Like they want to see their students like interact and ask questions and
Well,
help them.
the 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 asking questions gives us the opportunity to explain technique maybe in a slightly different way so that the person who's asking can hear it in different words. Knowing Jenny, she's got 6 different ways, 8 different ways, 10 different ways of explaining things. And if we can figure out, like, if somebody has this question, then generally there's somebody else in the room who has it.
Yeah,
So, right? But also, you may need to hear different words,
yeah.
or you may need to see it shown slightly differently. And when students ask questions, it gives us that opportunity to craft that answer just for you.
Yeah. The other, and I so agree, like that's, it's like everyone hears differently, and that's what's so wonderful. And then
Mhm.
also if it's being put in a discussion room, somebody that comes along is like, so-and-so asked that question. I didn't even think to ask that question. So I love when that happens. I also love some of the instructors will do feedback sessions on fabric pools, which I think is really cool. Like, so, or feedback session on anything like, okay, this
Right.
is my photo and I want to make it into this thing, this art quilt. Is that going to work? Is this a good photo for that? Yay or nay?
Mhm.
Or, hey, this is what I'm going to make. These are the fabrics I pulled. Do you think, what do you think? And you get to ask like this expert person, like on how they all, you know, what they think on what you picked, or is there some way to make it even stronger or more successful? So yeah, all of that I love about the site, like the community side. So
Mhm. Well,
yeah.
and Lee Monroe has her gig, which I've been
Uh-huh.
on once, but yeah, she's got her weekly quilt show.
Well, it's not weekly.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah, let's back up. Yeah. So I'm
it'll
sure
be
Lee is
weekly
okay
at
with
some
that.
point, I'm sure.
No, we've done 4 seasons of the quilting hour, and they were hour conversation. Usually 6 sessions, 6 episodes in 6 episodes in a season, and we have
Okay,
4 seasons. So yeah, so she does like kind of like a casual conversation.
great.
Really fun to watch as well. I love that. And then she has classes too, but yeah, so that's kind of, yeah, she's done a great job with that one. That's always fun to get to hear from people that aren't necessarily always on the platform or too. So yeah,
Right, yeah.
done a great job with that. Yeah.
And she has a new book recently too. She has a
And I
color
think,
book.
is it, and I'm gonna mess it up. I feel like it's not, is it Understanding the Rainbow? No, no, that's her
I
class.
know.
She has a class. Okay, so she has a class where she gives the book. That's why I'm like, and the class I want to say is Understanding the Rainbow. And Yes, understanding the rainbow practical tips for makers. Really, the book is for not just quilters, it's for
Mhm.
any kind of creative person. And it's kind of a color theory book, but with these cool exercises and challenges and things in it. So that's a great one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Lee has you noticing what's in your house already or
Mhm.
near your home,
Yeah.
because those are all sources of great inspiration and a great way to kind of pull things together.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that too. Do you have a favorite class that you've watched besides the secret nacho class?
I did watch Jenny's class. I
Oh,
and
good.
I think I did watch Jenny's class, and I think I may have watched one other. Life has just been a little um
That's okay. You don't have to watch everyone's class.
I actually
Is
I
there a
there
class
was
you
a period
want
of
to
time
watch?
there was a period of time where I seriously wanted to watch everybody's classes,
Mm.
and then all of a sudden I realized like this is hundreds of hours of video content. I think the like if I were going to take a class right now, I think I would head towards like Jennifer Sampu.
Mm.
Um, she has this um very intuitive understanding of quilting that you can tell has developed over years and years and years and years and years of practice. And in listening to somebody like that is almost like listening to a poet who is speaking their work in a very lyrical kind of way. It's like you almost hear the song of that person's heart when they're talking like that.
Yeah.
And so I think her or uh Laura, I'm gonna get her last name, Laura
Wazalowski.
Wasky. Yeah. Partly because she's just hilarious.
She is.
She is
She's so fun.
great. But
But both are so talented, like
yeah,
fun and talented. Yeah.
yeah. And you can like I've known both of them for a long time, and watching their work kind of in one sense stay the same but also continue to blossom. It is a fascinating way of watching people
Mhm.
in all of this. And you can see it with some of the other instructors too. You can see how they change and shift and grow. Like Becky, I know every once in a while I get the emails and Becky's got a new class. I'm like, how the heck are you doing this?
She is so disciplined, and she does have another class for 2025. That's going to be coming out as well as a block month, which is something that we started this last. Well, we've been actually she really did the first one, and it wasn't a block a month, but it was a sew along. Like the
Yeah.
blocks were faster than once a month. But and then Shelly Cabana did some block. She has one going on. She just had one that finished up, and honestly, it's the first BOM I did, and I finished it on time. I can't believe I don't have it in here to like hold up and be like, look at this. I loved it. It kept me on schedule. I'm not that good at that. And I love the quilt. Is this one called Yuletide? I'm so excited to have it on my bed. And
Mm.
I'm keeping it too. That's the other thing. But yeah, so I feel like I give away a lot of things I make. But yeah, so blocks of the month are definitely like I have a new love for that. So yeah, for sure. We have actually one coming up this next year that there's not even any information about it. So I'll give you a little like but if you go to Island Boutique and you look at their fall 2024 catalog, it's on the cover.
Mhm.
Um and it is called Desert Springs. It's by a woman named Sandrasa. You should have Sandrasa on. She's super cool. And that's going to be this really fun BOM or block of the month for next year. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that sounds fabulous.
Yeah. It's a raw edge applique. It's gorgeous. Yeah,
That's
definitely
my
worth
style of
looking.
applique.
Is that your style?
If I'm going to applicate, I'm going to go in that direction.
Yeah,
Partly because the more you do creative things, the more you find what works or doesn't work for you.
yeah.
Um, Doing needle turn applique, doing
It's
blanket
not your
stitch
jam.
applique, no, raw edge, fuse it down, stitch around it somehow, done.
Yeah.
Like,
It's really cool. It's like a desert, like different shapes. The blocks aren't all the same shape. It's really artistic.
oh,
Um,
fun.
and you'll have to check it out. And honestly, if you yeah, so she's amazing and she's gonna do a lot of like um live like Zoom meetups every month, like 2 a month that you can come and just stitch. It's not recorded, like I love that too. Like, I mean, I love recorded stuff when there's like, but I also love the idea that she was willing to like make community space and that people
Yeah.
can come and ask questions and not feel like, oh my God, this is on like everyone's watching that's not present. So that's
Mhm.
going to be kind of cool too.
Yeah. It sounds like um, she's digging into what we as quilters are, which is that kind of
Yeah.
community. Like, even though most of us end up sewing in our rooms by ourselves, it is really a community event.
I do the best when I'm with other people. For sure. Yeah. I'm in
Yeah.
like a weekly stitch group because otherwise I would also not stay on task. So
Hmm.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
I'd be too bummed out. So I need someone to keep me accountable for like creativity purposes. So yeah.
Move to Texas. I'll keep you accountable.
Oh my gosh, you're like the third person who asked me to move to Texas. I love that. Thanks, Teri. Texas
I
is
would,
calling me. What are you all doing there?
you know what, I, I moved 4 years ago. We moved into our house 4 years ago, like within the last week. Like all of our belongings were here, and uh, I am amazed that my sewing room is not exactly still what I would like it to be, right? But it's functional.
Yeah,
It's also piled with creative ideas that haven't quite taken off yet.
yeah,
Um, but also there are there are a number of people that like you are one of those people like I can talk with for hours and have just this amazing creative conversation and leave like, oh, I actually can do all this stuff.
you can.
Yeah,
You
so
can do it. Yeah,
I
no,
can do it.
I think carving out that time is always tricky. And yeah, I would say, I mean, one of the downfalls of my job is that I have like literally, I don't usually watch all the classes like start to end because some of them are really long, but I do watch predominantly most of the classes. And so like I said, there's like 200 classes and some of them are longer and some of them aren't. But like every time I watch a class, I'm like, I want to do that. Like I love technique. I love trying new
Right.
technique. And so that's kind of hard. Like I'm like, okay, I can't do all the classes. I've kind of come to realize I want to try them all. And at some point, maybe I'll have more time, but I also do a job. So so that's not
Well,
just my only.
and the job that you do to some degree because you're looking at a lot of this video
Yeah.
and you're helping form the instructors, there is a creative aspect to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely have a good understanding, and sometimes I'll try a little technique. I won't do the whole project. I've definitely moved to like understanding that I can learn something and practice that skill, but I don't have to like make the whole thing. And that has been a really great, that I'm really glad I gave myself that permission.
I am too because I actually got that permission years ago. I was grousing to a friend of mine and I said to her, "Yeah, before I can do this, I need to do that. Like I need to finish this." And she looked at me and she goes, "Teri, what is this obsession with finishing things? Maybe what you're working on has taught you everything that it needs to. Move on." And I just kind of went,
Cool.
"Oh, I I yeah, I can glean whatever information and then just like it's okay."
I definitely can agree with that, and I did learn a lot of that when I had the knitting store. But one thing I feel like I've learned more recently is to try to evaluate the beginning what I really want to get out of it. Because I will say, like, it doesn't feel great to have a lot of unfinished projects, or I mean, if I need
Right.
to trash a project, I need to trash it. But like, it feels better to finish something like my Yuletide quilt, right? That felt great to finish it, right?
Hmm.
But I think now I stop and I'm like, hey, like, okay, could I take this quilting class, not feel like I have to make the whole quilt, but just make a block and understand the technique because that's what really excites me. And the reality is, yes, nobody's gonna force me to make the whole quilt. I don't need to do that. So giving myself that, like stopping and asking what I want to get out of a class when I take it, like, is it I just want to know how this works and how I could apply it to other things, or just that I love to know. I'm
Hmm.
a learner. So at heart. So yeah, that's okay. So, but I feel better as I've gotten older of like being able to like stop and be like, do you want to do this quilt or do you just want the knowledge of the technique? And then adjusting my expectations.
Well, and oftentimes, seriously, it is the technique.
Mhm.
And so limiting then what you do in the learning process really does give you a lot of freedom. Um, I have found with like some of my experiments or stuff that I'm not using when I'm teaching anymore, or fabric that I have fallen out of, like deeply passionately out of love with. There's somebody here locally that I can give all my scraps to. And so she takes it, she does whatever with it, because I think she does charity quilts. So it's like, all right, there you go. Here's some.
Yeah. Yeah, and that also culling down your stash. I mean, I have a pretty big stash. Right now I've been putting things on eBay, especially for my yarn. And it's actually kind of fun. So, like, so who knew? Who knew that my yarn was worth something? I didn't think that anymore. But yeah, so that's always nice to let go of stuff so I could bring in something new too. But
Mhm.
yeah, definitely like I recently really wanted to take a class, but the reality is like I didn't love the quilt. Like I just didn't love it, but I really wanted to learn from this instructor and I wanted to learn the technique and I wanted to take away something. And then I realized like I'm just gonna make like a block. And if I don't do anything with it, so be it. Or if it becomes a kitty blanket, so be it.
Mhm. And I'm thinking if you're making a block, that's a great place to practice your free motion, your quilting in some
Mm,
way. You can
yeah.
do the walking foot quilting, or you can do the free motion quilting, and then make a pencil bag out of it, make a tote bag out of it, because it's
Or
like
make nothing. I mean, I don't like, I'm not trying to bash turning your blocks into something. I'm really not.
no, I
But
hear
I
that.
also feel like that just ends up like then I have this like piece that if I didn't really want that pencil bag, it just sits in my unfinished objects because I probably am not picking it up to make.
Yeah,
So,
I do hear
yeah.
you.
But there is always usually something. For those people that have extra time, you should do it. You should make a pencil bag.
Extra time. Okay, so
Anyways,
totally
okay,
random
I told
question.
Terry I wasn't going to talk for a whole hour, and then we're getting close to
We're getting
being done.
close.
So,
We're
yeah.
we're fine. So, random question number one. Favorite flavor of ice cream?
Okay, so I bought this thing called a Ninja Creamy. Have you heard of this? It's like the number one ice cream maker right now in the country. And so I've been making ice cream. But you
Hmm.
can make healthier ice cream, by the way, people out there. But what I've been making is a little like milk and I aren't as friendly as we used to be. Um, is I take
Oh.
It's okay. I take cashew yogurt from Trader Joe's, and then I make some lemon curd, homemade. And I'm in
Oh.
California, so we got lots of lemon trees in our backyard. So I make lemon curd and then I mix it together. I freeze it and I make this frozen cashew yogurt. It's so good. It's lemon. That's one of my favorites.
Um,
My other favorite would be like if I had to just go in the store, would be mint chip.
mhm. Okay. When you're crafting, what are you drinking? And it can be it, it's
Besides water.
whatever.
Besides water,
If you're drinking water, that's fine.
yeah, it's probably water. Yeah, that's it. Wasn't very exciting.
That's
When I'm
fine,
not
Sophie.
crafting, it's probably some kind of like espresso drink.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Espresso is good for the soul.
I love espresso. Yeah.
Mm.
When
Um,
I'm crafting, let me ask you a question. What do you listen to when, or do you not listen to anything when you're crafting?
um, if I am hardcore serious into quilting, and I mean like I am total, I know I'm going to completely zone out. I listen to the Lord of the Rings trilogy,
Okay.
the extended versions.
So you just have that playing in the background.
Right. I
Yeah.
know the story well enough that I
Yeah.
don't actually need to pay attention to know
Yeah.
where things are. But it's also a great source of tracking time, like how
Mhm.
many hours I've spent quilting. Because if I have to change the DVD, I know I'm hitting 3 hours on something. So
Yeah.
there we go. Um, or music.
Okay.
Um, yeah. I as a free motion quilting teacher, one of the things that I learned fairly early on is that in most of our creative brains, we have negative Nelly, and she is a right royal pain in the because she points out every single flaw, missed stitch, whatever, um, pucker, like, things that in the grand scheme of things, right, don't really matter because some of the quilts are just not going to Houston. Like it
Yeah.
is what it is. So I put music on in the background so that Negative Nelly is listening to that, and then I can do my work.
I
Or
got
I
it.
put the trilogy on in the background so that that's what she's paying attention to, so I can just do my work.
That's interesting. Like that is the reason you had that sound on too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your favorite ice cream? You didn't tell me.
Oh, anything in a Talenti jar?
Wait, anything what?
In a Talenti jar?
Oh, and a Talenti. Oh yeah. Yeah, I get that. Those are the clear jars with the black lids.
Yes.
Yes.
In New York, we would often find them a little less expensively than here, but it's different. Um, but our local grocery store has had them on sale. Our local grocery store also makes their own ice cream, and so they have things like Mexican hot chocolate and Starry Night, and
Oh,
you
I
know,
love Mexican hot chocolate.
oh,
Or
right?
Thai iced tea. Ice cream. Have you had that one?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
That has to
It's
be.
not by them, by the way.
It's okay. I can find.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a company here who makes Dr. Pepper. I haven't had it yet, but Dr. Pepper ice cream.
that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that floaty style. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and hmm, in this, if I have a drink, usually it's water. But I've also been known to have wine or beer. Partly again, as a like I don't encourage drunk quilting. Let me just say that right now because I like my fingers.
Yeah.
Um, I like keeping my fingers. They're, the source of doing my work. But also one of the things that and I don't like, it's not a lot. It's like over a few hours, have a glass of wine or, a bottle of beer, whatever. Um, but
You're allowed.
it- yeah, I know I'm a grown adult,
Yeah.
so it's fine.
You have to explain
Well,
it.
the reason I state it that way for a reason. We don't need a lot of alcohol to relax our bodies enough where we will just sit there and it's not about
Mm,
just sitting there and quilting. But one of the things that happens with quilters is that we tend to do this. partly because the table is too high or the machine, there's something that's not quite right in terms of the ergonomics, but also, um, because Negative Nelly often has rain inside our heads, we end up doing this, which we're all tight up in our shoulders and our arms, and everything then starts hurting. It's just enough so that your body will relax, so you can do what you're doing. I
Yeah.
I don't do that quite so often
I'm
anymore. I
just
don't do
like, yeah. I mean, I would say I probably don't partake if I'm having a drink. It's not for like relaxation purposes, but I do like a hard kombucha sometimes. I mean, I guess I could do that if it was not water, something like that.
Hmm.
Something
I didn't know
aside.
kombucha could get hard.
You can. I mean, technically kombucha's fermented, so doesn't take much for it to become hard.
My other fun habit in the last 8 months is I enjoy baking. I'm good at it. The first thing, one of my fondest childhood memories was when I was 7 years old or 8 years old, getting a book out of the library and making a loaf of bread. I feel bad for my mother because, there was flour all over the place.
Yeah,
Right. However, um, that has uh there's a lifelong love of that. And
yeah,
a few times a year or for special occasions, I make cinnamon rolls. And I don't make just cinnamon rolls. They're sourdough. It's sourdough, so
yes.
it's fermented. And then it's a sourdough sweet dough, which, you know, it is.
I mean, you
And
gotta love. I mean, I'm from Bay Area, California. You gotta love sourdough.
right. Yes, yes, you do. And it's interesting, the sourdough there is different than the sourdough here,
I'm
but
sure.
there's also like other stuff
Yeah,
here that isn't, what.
exactly. Yeah,
And but I love that, if I'm gonna make the sourdough, if I'm gonna do those cinnamon rolls, it's like a 2 to 3 day process, right? Because you need to let that first ferment, like really be overnight. Do a slow.
no, these sound so good.
Well, the thing that I've been doing in the last year is when I make the cinnamon rolls, is I make a lemon icing.
Yes.
So
Well,
I take,
obviously, we already established I like lemon, and I grow
yeah,
them in the backyard. So,
yeah,
yeah,
and it makes the cinnamon rolls a whole lot less sweet. So you really just get this delightfully cinnamony, citrusy thing, and
sourdoughy thing.
sourdoughy, and and in my cinnamon mixture, I also have started adding cardamom because
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Oh my, Terry, we are like made of the same people. I'm a big, if you had, I actually almost told you one of my favorite ice creams is cardamom ice cream because I could just, yeah, love that. Very
Yeah.
creative. And just like a lot of different types of flavors in there. That's why it works so well, I'm
Mm,
sure, too. Plus
yeah.
the love that you put into your
Yes. And
cinnamon.
I still need by hand. So,
I
like,
love that.
and
Nice.
yeah. So it's fantastic. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
uh,
Yeah.
last tip for Creative Spark people.
I don't know tips other than, we love to have you come check out. If you haven't ever been to Creative Spark, come check it out. We have great customer service, wonderful instructors, and yeah, and there's always something new. So at least sign up on our newsletter and you'll get to know what the newest class of the week is. We're probably putting out last year we put out 50 classes, so that's close to a class a week. I think we'll be close to that this year as well. So there's always something new. And not just quilting, but I would say definitely that's the predominant. And that has something to do too with that C&T Publishing is
Right.
definitely really well known for quilting books. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Great.
joining me and
Thank
and
you,
and coming to
Terry.
visit the book report,
Oh,
and
it's great to
we'll talk
be
more.
here. Yeah, I'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye.